Hey everybody, Brett from AstartesGaming here, and I am back with yet another series in Crusader Kings 2 Elder Kings. And this time around we are going to be playing as the Nords once again, but this time we're going to be playing as the King or the Jarl of Windhelm. I think it's technically the King. It says Queen right now because this is the current ruler, Queen Freydis. However, we're going to be replacing her with our own character modeled after the character from our Skyrim playthrough, Fenric Ironscales. And so our coat of arms, as last time, is the dark scales here. This is his appearance. Not exactly the same, but pretty close. Close enough. And let's just run through his traits really quickly, and then we'll start jumping into some gameplay. So obviously he's a Nord, because we are going to try to conquer Skyrim. Religion 8 Divines, because I don't think Talos... Yeah, this is the second era. So Talos hadn't, created the Third Empire yet. So he's a Master Warrior, which gives us a huge bonus to our martial skill, our reinforcement rate, and then a pretty decent bonus to our stewardship as well. Being that our goal is to conquer Skyrim, I figured martial skill is going to be very important in that. So I went with this one, and it doesn't have any major penalties. So I thought this was a pretty good skill to take for our educational trait. And then for our standard traits, I went with the Architect because it's completely free to take, so I take it every time. And there's no negatives to it. It doesn't cost you anything as far as age. There's no negative effects. It just makes you build a little bit quicker and cheaper. So no reason not to take that one there. The Adventure I took because it was fairly cheap, and it kind of fits because this guy is based off of our Skyrim character, who is very much an adventurer. So pretty good bonuses all the way through, with the exception of stewardship. Obviously there's a -2 there, but we get +1 to just about everything else except for let's see, diplomacy. So decent trait there, and I think that actually gives you some years back. We went with tall because we're a Nord, it fits. It boosts our martial skill up to 20. Quick is +3 to everything. That's one that I always try to take because it can be inherited by your sons and daughters, and so it makes it much easier for you to have very strong characters later on in the game, which is something that we saw a lot of in the last playthrough is the orcs. A lot of our heirs, or at least the heirs that we chose, had that trait, and so they were considerably better than their brothers and sisters who didn't. Ambitious, obviously we have a very ambitious goal in mind, so that fits as well. It's also pretty much a universal benefit with the exception of some relationship penalties, which is totally okay because we don't have a liege, so no big deal there. Other people who are ambitious will like me a little bit less, but overall I think it's a pretty good trait, and it's fairly cheap as far as years go. Proud, we're a proud Nord. Why wouldn't we have that? And then Scarred. Scarred is a nice trait because it's free as well, and it boosts your monthly prestige income. So another trait you may as well take because there's not really a negative to it. Organizer. So this is going to boost our combat movement speed and retreat speed. And this is really important because, as you guys saw in the last campaign, or you may or may not have seen, but there were a couple battles that we lost just because we weren't able to reinforce our armies quite quick enough. And so my thinking is that this could make or break a battle. So I feel like it's a very good trait to take. And Unyielding is basically just, your standard Nord fight to the death, no retreat, no surrender kind of mentality. It makes your troops a little bit more resilient to morale breaks. So when the battle's very close, this could be what decides who ends up breaking first. And so again, I think this is going to be a really useful trait to have. I'm not going to go with any terrain bonuses this time, which we saw with the orcs. Mainly because when we were playing as the orcs, we were in, Orsinium, which is in High Rock, which is almost all mountains, but the terrain in Skyrim's a little bit more diverse. Um, Not extremely. I mean, you still have a lot of mountains and foothills and stuff, but there's also marsh areas, there's plains, so being a master of mountain combat isn't going to be as useful in Skyrim as it was in High Rock. It would still be somewhat useful, but I think this combination here is going to be a little bit better for us. And then we were born under the Lady Birth sign, which makes our character a little bit more resilient health-wise. Something that really gave us trouble in the very first Elder Kings playthrough we did, where our king died very, very early on, and was pretty much the cause of us losing because he left an infant heir who was basically killed in his crib. So this should prevent anything like that from happening this time around. And then it also boosts my diplomacy, which was my weakest trait at the moment. So we're at the ripe young age of 28, and I think that's going to do it. So let's go ahead and finish that. So it still says queen. I really hope it doesn't say that when we get in game. It's going to bug me. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is Eastmarch here. This is the Rift. Whiterun there. So our goal is to basically take everything in that vicinity right there. So let's get started. Alright, so here we are in our capital of Windhelm, and looks like Freydis has joined our court as a princess. We got a lot to do to get set up here. I really wish it wouldn't change my headgear all the time, but it continues to do so. So what am I going to do? First things first, let's get married. Who is the best option? Let's see. She's a Breton. Pretty decent traits. Very good intrigue. She is also really good. She's an Imperial. Very, very young. Good diplomacy, but bad at everything else. And then we have Tatiana here, who's roughly the same age as me. Very good diplomacy and martial skill. Pretty terrible at everything else, though. And let's see. She's an expert bard. Actually, all three of them are. Well, these two are master bards. She's just an expert. She's an Imperial. Brave. Absent-minded. Honest and kind. They all have pretty decent traits. She's lustful, which, could actually help us in the long run. She's shy, she's ruthless, and she's cruel. Huh. Well, actually, before we get married, let's sort out our council, and then we'll see about filling weaknesses through marriage. So we've got Nude here. Knud. I think it's just Nude. I think the K is silent. We do not want him leading armies. And then, do we want Olaf or Anders? He's already the mayor of Windhelm, so I think giving it to Olaf might be... Oh, but he's the Thane of Bannerwatch. I'm gonna give it to Anders. And then our steward... Oh, wow, he's really good. I'm gonna call him Viper, even though I don't know that that's how it's pronounced. But Viper sounds cooler than Viper or Vipir. So, Viper it is. And then Spy Master. We've got Ernskar, and then Alfhild. She's only 16. She could develop into a pretty good Spy Master. But at the same time, he is better. And still fairly young as well. I think we'll just go with the better candidate here. And then we've got Torbjorn and Svenja, both of which are pretty good. He's noticeably better, though. He's the Thane of Mistwatch. She's the Invoker of Emil. Amol. So she's actually like in a religious position. He's the Thane of Mistwatch, but he is a lot better. So I think we're just gonna have to go with him. Now, everybody here is fairly decent with the exception of our Chancellor could be better. So let's go back to our options for wife, and she would immediately, actually either of these would immediately step in as our Chancellor. She's the better of the two, and she's also a little bit better balanced. Well, I mean, when I say that, she's got 2 decent traits instead of just 1, but she still sucks at everything else. So I'm thinking Tatiana. There aren't any Nords for us to choose from, at least not up there. There are a couple down here, but Gardener bloodline. Huh. Oh well. Let's go with Tatiana. She's about the same age. I think that'll work out pretty well. Let's see. I'm gonna lose a lot of prestige from that. -3 for marrying a courtier. Okay, well, let's think about this then. What would happen if I married her instead? I would gain prestige from that. Relative of account, okay. Well, I think we're going to take her then, just because I don't want to take such a huge prestige hit this early. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately the other wife was a better choice, but she's going to benefit me more in the immediate game. So, let's go ahead and marry her. And then we've got a title that we can create. What is that? The Duchy of Morvenskar, which is here. Oh, wait, that's kingdoms. No, that one. So that's this area right here. Wouldn't be a bad idea. I obviously can't afford it yet. Speaking of, I assume that means we are already the Duke of Eastmarch? We must be. Unmarried, pick an ambition. Let's go ahead and choose that, and then we can get the clock started. Get married, because we're going to be doing that in a matter of seconds here. And we have claims that we can press. He is part of Winterhold, okay. So, Winterhold is fairly large. It might not be a good idea to cross them just yet. Grey Winter, on the other hand, is very vulnerable. It does remind me, we need to start getting this going here. So we'll send him to get a claim on Winterwind here, so we can start pressing that. We'll train troops in the capital. We'll collect taxes in the capital. We'll have you study technology in, let's see, let's do it in the Imperial City. I imagine they'll have pretty good technology, and we can improve magical relations, huh? We can heal. Let's go with cultural tech in the capital for now. Oh, and before I forget, let's tick all these boxes. And then we'll look at our laws. I think we should probably go with this one, because this right here is going to be the most important, at least for the time being. And then I'd like to get this to at least small, maybe get this to maximum, and then meritocracy will be important as well. But for now, I think this is going to benefit us most in the long term. Let's see, about 15, just under 1,500 troops. And I'm not going to mess with any of these. Okay, so let's get started. Alright. It is the 450th year of the Second Era, and almost a quarter of a century since the last potentate of the Empire was assassinated with his heirs. The lords of Tamriel have descended into petty squabbling kingdoms, each vying for their own little piece of what once was, though there are others with greater designs who look to the future, to the Ruby Throne, or perhaps to an empire of their own. That seemed like it should have been more than one sentence. Anywho, we should be getting married relatively shortly. There it is. Okay, let's take the prestige. And they improved my law, that's good. Okay, so we fulfilled our ambition. Let's pick a new one. And actually, I can keep that running. Let's slow it down a bit, though, at least for now. Let's have the ambition of having a child, particularly a son. Because we do need an heir. Let's see, I have far too many lifestyles. The stress of... Oh, man. So apparently if you pick 2 lifestyles, you lose them all. That happened to us last time, I think, too. As a worshipper of the divines, I can choose to place one of the Aedra above all others in my worship, declaring them to be my patron deity. So we can choose Akatosh, which is basically prestige and movement speed. Arche, which is favor and health. Dibella, who is favor and just general opinion and attraction. Julianos, who will improve my learning. Kinnereth, who will improve my intrigue. Mara, who will improve my fertility. That could be useful. Stendar, who will improve my diplomacy. And Zenithar, who will improve my stewardship. Stendar and Mara make the most sense immediately, but I don't know if they're going to be the best choices long term. Because I could use more diplomacy. Let's take Stendar. Okay. Anywho, clock's rolling. We are working on a claim here. Hopefully we can get that relatively soon, because the quicker we can start expanding, the better. Anselvund down here is going to be pretty high up on our targets list as well. As we push west, we should be able to pick up the speed, because there are a lot of basically like Nords and Bretons here that worship the old gods that we can use like inquisitions against. Like here, let's look at one for example here. So if I were to, oh, I have to declare it on the other guy. Oh, apparently I don't have a valid one. I thought there were inquisitions in this game. Or not this game, this mod. I'm fairly certain there are, because as the orcs we had them, we just couldn't use them. Because it was too risky when we were surrounded as we were. Let's see, who's the king here? I believe you are. Yeah, he's the Jarl of Anselvund. Let's see if we can get him to fall in here. No, but we can declare war. Conquest of Anselvund, huh? That is very interesting, and something that would be possibly a good idea. He's got companion's blood. Well, seniority succession in Eastmarch faction. Can we change our succession yet? We can change it, we just can't change it yet. We need to... I don't know. We need to level up our legalism and all this stuff quite a bit, I imagine. Seniority's fine by me, though. Gavelkind is always a pain. Primogeniture is generally the one that I go with in the base game. But seniority's fine too. It just means that rather than my oldest son, my brother or something would inherit it, my oldest brother. This one is sort of the same idea, it's just within your children rather than your whole family. But let's take a quick break here, and I'm going to check the time and see how much we have left. And if we've got a bit of time left, we may try Conquest of Anselvund here. Okay, so we are nearing the end of the episode, but we're not quite there. I don't think we'll have enough time to finish this if we start it today, so I think we'll just hold off on that, since we still have that that claim. So I think in the next episode we'll start off declaring war on these guys. Now, I don't know if that applies strictly to this province here, if it's going to apply to the whole Jarldom. I imagine it's probably just this. But it appeared that we had claims on all three. So let's take a look at that. We'll plan this out. So, yeah, it's just the Thaindom of these two. Or we have de jure claims on all three. So any of those will work, which is fine. He will not submit to vassalization. I imagine the same is true of these guys. He's the Thane holding all three? Okay, he's at war, so he can't do that. Who's he at war with? Whiterun. Well, let's get that moving. I'm not sure if we'll be able to attack him as soon as this is over. But definitely got my sights set on him as well. It's a shame that he's at war, because I'd like to see if we have the same claims on him that we do down here. I imagine not. But it would be a waste to get a claim on this province if we already had one. And we've also got Corvinjund here. Actually, it's probably like Corvinjund, because the J's are supposed to be like Y sounds. How are we looking with him? Declare war. Overthrow warlord, huh? And we've got 2 conquest options. Let's see. Sheer Point is the nearest one to us, and then Corvinjund is the northernmost one. So we have claims on both of these as well. We can also overthrow him, but I don't think that we get to... Let's see. The character has shown themselves to be a bloodthirsty warmonger. Take arms and depose this warlord before their power is too great. If we win this war, he loses 500 prestige. We get a weak claim. And apparently somebody else gets it. Not particularly interesting option for me. I want it. So we'll have to find another way to take all 3. She's pregnant, that's good. Hopefully it's a son. We could really use an heir. I'm not sure how. Let's take a look before we end the episode here and see where agnatic, cognatic. So I believe that one means that our daughters can inherit, but our sons have priority. Yeah, so that means our sons have priority, but our daughters can inherit. So either one is technically fine. Then we can have a king or a queen. This one makes the sons and daughters equal in inheritance. So until we get there, our daughters will be second on the list, but they can still inherit. So as long as we have a child, it's fine. Well, I suppose that's where we're going to end the episode, since we have a couple of wars on the horizon here, but nothing that we can knock out this time around. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the game here and break off the episode. As always, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to shoot me some comments about what we should do next, whether we should start pressing our claims to the south or start working on the west first. I think either one is a pretty good strategy. Consolidating our forces to the east here might be a little bit safer initially, although, you know, expanding our border with the Rift, who's a fairly large faction as well, might be a little bit precarious. But the same goes for the West as well, because Winterhold is on that border. So, two options here, potentially a third. Let me know which one you guys think is the best, and I will see you guys back here for part 2 of our Crusader Kings 2 Elder Kings mod Let's Play.